I'm Corey Rich. I'm an adventure photographer and filmmaker. I've been actually taking pictures and documenting the outdoor adventure world for over half of my life. So I've spent a lot of time out in wild places, hanging off of ropes, trying to really share the adventure story with the people that can't be there with me. In general, I just love to be outside, whether that's skiing, whether that's rock climbing, and as long as I have a camera in tow, I have a huge smile on my face. It's a pretty fascinating world, the adventure world, the climbing world specifically, in that all of us, we share the same playgrounds. I go to the same cliffs that the Chris Sharmas and the Tommy Caldwells of the world visit. Now, they might be climbing a steeper section of that rock, but we all stand at the base and we rub elbows and we tell stories. Climbers improve by growing and leaning on what their predecessors, what the pioneers that came before them learned how to do, their innovation. I've spent a lot of time in pretty remote places around the planet, and big mountains covered in snow. It's a little disheartening to see that our wild places are really transforming forever. Glaciers that I walked over 15 years ago are gone. And the best example that I have is Irian Jaya, Indonesia. We went to climb Karsten's Pyramid, which is one of the 7 summits. It's the high point in Australasia. It was obvious then, and this goes back 15 years, 10 years ago, that this was a receding glacier. And I frequently will bump into folks or get emails from folks, and they say, I looked at your pictures of Karsten's Pyramid. We didn't see any snow. We didn't see any ice. There's no more glacier. And that's pretty sad. The flip side is you look at what happened in Yosemite in January. Tommy Caldwell and Kevin Jorgensen climbed the longest, hardest free climb in the world on El Capitan in January. And the only reason that was possible is because arguably our climate is changing, meaning it didn't snow in California. We had virtually no precipitation in the month of January. I think folks that really love adventure, folks that really love being outside, conservationists, I think climate change really affects them in a deeply emotional way. It's, we love being outside, we love being in wild places. And when you see that place really transforming, not for the better, it's a really sad moment in time.
I think the immediate effects of climate change, like in the next 5 years, won't affect the climbing community or outdoor climbing, just because of how slow the Earth and climate change moves. But I think for the climbers of future generations, it's going to be a really big deal. One thing is like erosion is really going to impact how climbs are approached, and climbs that have difficult approaches now, such as the ones in Yosemite, are going to be even more difficult with erosion. But I think, like as with all other things relating to the outdoor world, we have to be careful with climate change. Like, we're ruining our Earth as we speak, and outdoor climbing is something that's going to go along with that. So if we want to keep outdoor climbing, we have to be conscious of the environment, just like we would have to be conscious of it with biking or skiing or anything of the sort.
It's the things that we teach and say to our children that influence their decision-making patterns over time. I try to make informed decisions around, what's good for this planet, because I'm really a guy that loves this planet. I have a T-shirt, and I'm not sure where I picked up the T-shirt, but there's a logo of a guitar on it, and there's one string, and it just reads, "Live simply." Right? Conceptually, it's a pretty simple statement. We as humans need a whole lot less than I think we've come to believe to be happy. And right, it comes down to happiness. We don't need a lot of stuff around us to be happy. It comes down to family and friends and great experiences. The bottom line is that it's very simple. Living simply actually equates to happiness. And I think as a society, Western society, I think maybe we're a bit misguided as a group in believing that the bigger the home, the bigger the vehicle, the more vehicles equals happiness. And that of course, those bigger homes, the bigger cars, more toys, more television sets, more computers, that equals consumption. And it's a pretty minimal impact that a rock climber has on the mountains, relative to the impact a ski resort has on a mountain, where they clear cut a strip of trees, a run. And again, there's extremes in everything, right? There's extremes in the climbing. I mean, climbers tend to be a very low impact group of users in the natural world.
My name is Matt Ulery. I've been climbing for about 5 years now. I would say it was about 2 years ago, and I'd been climbing outdoors for a number of years. My girlfriend and I had gone on a number of really great trips around the country, and we'd seen some climbing areas that were really well taken care of and some areas that were not really well taken care of. I had a conversation just with a number of other climbers. We were talking about a number of local crags, and the question finally came up, like, well, who does maintain the bolts and the anchors, and who does trail maintenance and glass cleanup? And the answer wasn't there. We couldn't find anybody that we could definitively point a finger at and be like, oh, you're doing this, and can we get involved? The answer was like, oh, they do it. But we couldn't figure out who they were. So, we were like, okay, we'll do a couple stewardship events at local crags and get things rolling. And the response from the climbing community was really, really positive, and it was obvious that this was something that people wanted to get more involved in, wanted to support. So, we kind of just went from there and got it all rolling and started doing more events. And as the last couple of years have gone on, we've found people that are willing to volunteer and commit their time to helping run this organization. About 5 months ago, we got our nonprofit status, which is super exciting. Definitely opens the doors in terms of the type of work we can do and the types of conversations and agreements we can enter into with land managers to protect our outdoor climbing areas. Most people, after they've been climbing for a while, they change, and it's typically a very good change. I think you become a little more balanced internally. I think climbing causes a constant kind of challenge then overcome. And when you start applying that into your everyday life, I think that makes you a much better person. It's easier to deal with little things that come up because you're like, oh, I was just working on this super hard project and I spent 3 months failing over and over and over, and then I finally succeeded. And I think it provides you with an opportunity to think more about small victories, on the path to the big victory versus just keeping a focus on the big victory at the end. And I think a lot of things in terms of conservation and environmentalism is the same way, is that there has to be the focus on the end result, which is super important, but you also have to look at the small victories as little steps. A lot of the ideas behind climate change can be focused back on making people aware of how they can support the outdoors and how they can be good conservationists. And really, I think the battle against climate change is providing people with the opportunity to think more about how they impact the world. I think everybody should be invested in taking care of our planet. We get one. We've been here for a very, very small period of time, and I think we owe the planet and each other and future generations as much as possible to be able to take care of the environment. I think as a climbing community, we have a responsibility to take those general leave no trace ethics and put them into the perspective of the climbing community. Find the thing that you're passionate about and get behind it and put that time in. It feels really good. You get to learn a lot about a very specific area, and on top of it, it's a really cool way to get out there and support something you love.